welcome. We've already got 20 people here. That is awesome. I'm so happy to be here with y'all. If you haven't met me before, my name is Nick. I've been a BCBA for 6.5 years. I've been teaching test prep for about 5 years. I am a bona fide behavior nerd, self-proclaimed, but I'm sure my friends would agree with me too. So yeah, we've got a lot of exciting things going on. I know we were off last week, so welcome back. It's good to be here again with you all. Looks like you guys are all ready. I'm excited. We've got some great topics already. Feel free to keep throwing some more topics in here too. I think we can go over a few more. So we had some people who want to go over measurements. Sarah's saying we should go over time sampling procedures and when to use them. I like it. We'll do that. And then, yeah. So what else you guys got? Couple things before we get into everything. So on Saturday is a very exciting day. We are doing the first Understanding Behavior mini course. So this mini course, it's on the fundamentals of behavior analysis. The topics that I think that are most important. It's about a 3-hour class. It's on Saturday. It runs at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm in Mountain Time, so it'll be 8 to 11 Mountain Time. And hopefully you can adjust from there. During this course, we're going to review extensively our basic contingencies, motivating operations, stimulus discrimination, and schedules of reinforcement. So all these pretty crucial topics. And even if you feel like, yeah, I know these, I guarantee you're going to learn something and improve your knowledge and fluency with these concepts if you come to the course. $50, pretty good deal. Also, the course is going to come with a fill-in-the-blank note exercise that you can take home with and kind of test your knowledge and fluency too. So I'm really excited for this. Who else is excited for this? Has anybody signed up yet? So right now there are 20 seats total. If we get to 15 people signed up for this, I'll also be giving away one free tutoring session to a random person that is there at the course. So only if we get to 15 people though. So make sure you sign up so we can give that away. So that's that on the course. It's going to be super awesome. AJ asked if there's going to be a recording of the course. I didn't plan on it, to be honest, but I think what is going to happen is that the course is going to run more than just one time. So I plan to do it maybe once a month or so. So if that still lines up with your testing date, then hopefully you can still attend that in about a month or so when we run it again. Hoping to get more of these courses going for you guys. I think they're going to be really cool. I think after this like basic fundamentals course, what we're going to do is going to do like the tough stuff course. So that's going to be like compound schedules, stimulus equivalence. Well, and we'll see. We'll do maybe a little bit of experimental designs in there, or like complex experimental designs. We'll see. But more information on that. That is still like in the thought process. It's not a real thing yet. Yesenia has been tutoring with me, and it's been super awesome. Thank you for all your support, Yesenia. Appreciate you. Let's see. I'm a little behind on chat. What else can we add in here? So we've got time sampling procedures. Sweet. Alyssa's asking, can I explain the door question? Yeah, let's do the door question for sure. That was a toughie. Also relates to kind of our SDMOs too, so that'll be fun. Amanda's saying G9. Let me pull up a task list and see what G9 is. We can throw that one on. Yeah, keep them coming. I think we can squeeze in a few more topics here. So yeah, G9, looking at discrete trial versus free operant versus naturalistic teaching arrangements. Totally cool. What else we got? Yeah, generalization techniques from Addie. I like it. So she want to go. Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. Lindsay's asking F7. I know Lindsay signed up for the course too. Good to see you here. So yeah, descriptive assessment of problem behavior. Let's get it. All right, I think that's a pretty good place to start. What do you guys think? Should we hop right into it? Yeah, maybe a little bit on MOs if we get to it. But I mean, MOs, I mean, if you're struggling with MOs, you should really come to the course on Saturday if you can. It's going to be really cool. So thank you guys so much for being here. Let's just dive into our content. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about contingency contracts or behavior contracts. I'm curious, has anybody ever used a behavior contract before, like either for a client or their own behavior? I'm curious. So let's go over what a contingency contract is. So essentially, this is like it's like a written a plan of contingencies to control the behavior of a highly verbal individual. So this part here is important that the person does have to be pretty verbally skilled for these to be effective, because the reason why is that the contract is going to describe contingents, or like often describes, doesn't always describe, often describes contingencies that have delayed consequences. So if they don't have strong verbal behavior skills, these delayed consequences probably aren't going to make as much sense or be as effective for the individuals. So essentially, like what a behavior contract is, here are like some of the components. Okay, cool. Yeah, a couple people have used these before. I'm curious, like what kind of behaviors you've used these before for as well. So here are the components of a behavior contract. First, it's going to outline like who, like the performer and the performance manager and who they are. So the performance manager, this is essentially going to be like the person that is implementing the consequences. Let's see. So yeah, AJ says they have used it for skipping class. Okay, that's a good one. Amanda's used it for completing homework assignments. Cool, I like it. Lindsay had a client who was 13 who swore that we did a contingency contract for. Okay, cool. Verbal problem behavior, so threats, slurs, and insults. Okay, I like that. So kind of interesting, a lot of behaviors targeted for decrease in there. But you can really use contingency contracts for increase or increase. Again, main thing here is that it needs to be a very highly verbal individual. So again, we have a performer and the performance manager. The performance manager is the person that is implementing the consequences and help out with the skills. So in the contract itself, it's going to describe like what the behaviors are and the expectations for the behavior. So, for example, if we're doing like the completing homework assignments, maybe we would use like a % of occurrence for this. So maybe it's something like they will complete 100% of homework assignments on time. So we're looking at the timeliness, not necessarily like how accurate they are in the homework assignments, but that timeliness just to get it done, I think would be the most important measurement there. And we'll talk about measurement a little bit and measurement validity after we go through contracts. So behavior and the expectations for the behavior, and then it's also going to describes the consequences for the behavior and like if it doesn't occur. So for the completing homework assignments, for example, maybe it's like if you get 100% of assignments completed for the week, then on Friday we're gonna go to the movies. So that could be a part of the contract. Maybe it also describes like a different component where it's like if we get under 80% of assignments for the week, then they lose video game time for the weekend. For a lot of our clients, that's gonna be like the most punishing thing ever. I know for me when I was a kid, especially there was nothing worse than losing the video game time. So that would be a really powerful consequence and kind of like help support that bottom line. Also, if you haven't yet, go throw a like on this video so we can get more people here and get people to see this. So yeah, it's going to describe the consequences for the behavior if it doesn't occur. It's also going to describe like when these consequences occur. So, like the movie example, maybe it's not like a movie immediately, but maybe it's movie on Sunday, for example. So if they do school all the work Monday to Friday, get 100%, then on Sunday we're going to get this movie. Um, and then it's also going to describe who is providing these consequences. So who's paying for the movie? Who's bringing them to the movie? All of that jazz. Um, and then also like when we're like creating this contract, we want to like create the contract with the person. So like have the expectations be like easy to meet for them, and make sure the performer can commit to the goals that are outlined within the contract. So maybe like they're like, whoa, 100% is like pretty steep for this first week. I'm at like 40% right now. So maybe like that would be a negotiation between the performer and the performance manager, and maybe like, all right, how about like for the first 2 weeks we set the high bar at 80, and then in 2 weeks we're gonna move it to 100. See if they can agree to that. Cool, good to go. And then like the performer has to agree to them, so you have to get assent from the person that you're doing the contract for. If they don't agree to it, the contract is not gonna be effective. So my advisor in grad school was Dick Malott. He's like the performance manager, the king of behavior analysis. A real old dude. I think he's like 87 now. He loves performance management. Like throughout our program, we had tons of different performance management contingencies. And he always says his like number one piece of advice is don't let your partner, spouse, or any intimate person like that be your performance manager. Because the thing is, they're gonna be too easy on you. They're gonna be flexible. Like if you like miss your outcomes a little bit, they'll be like, it's okay. Like let's just go to the movies anyway. That was like his number one rule that he always drilled in about performance contracts is don't let your partner or spouse be your performance manager. It's probably not gonna work out. Yeah, Alyssa's asking a good question. Is this an actual signed contract, or is it like a verbal thing and keeping track of behaviors? So yeah, this is usually a written signed contract. So like at the end of it, you're gonna collect signatures for agreements of the terms, and then everybody has to play their role. So when you pick a performance manager, it's like you kind of want to pick a hard ass performance manager. So pick a hard ass performance manager if you want this to work. So usually like somebody who doesn't have a lot of stakes, somebody who can be really objective, be like, did you meet the criteria? Sweet. If you didn't, sweet. And then follow through on the consequences appropriately. So yeah, that's a lot of the components of a contingency contract. Pretty straightforward. Again, main things that you really want to note is that used for very verbal individuals. Usually this is going to be like more for like motivation-based behavior. So if you're like having a hard time like getting to the gym, having a hard time like doing your work, having a hard time like not eating ice cream, for example, all of those behaviors can be good. And again, you can use this for behaviors targeted for increase or decrease. Cool. Yeah, Alyssa's asking, what's the difference between a contingency contract and a self-management contract? So usually, like, I don't think there really is. I don't think a self-management contract is really like a behavioral term, because you can't really like sign an agreement to yourself. There has to be somebody else to perform it. So enforce the contingency contract. So I wouldn't worry about that distinction at all, Alyssa. All right. Cool. And honestly, I haven't talked about contingency contracts in a while, but they can be a really useful tool to change behavior. Sometimes just like the basic contingencies themselves aren't gonna do it. So having like that extra set of contingencies can be really helpful to nail things in and get it done. And you usually want to, if you really want to change this behavior, you're gonna pick strong consequences, and you're gonna pick a hard ass performance manager. All right, let's talk a little bit about measurement. So I just feel like I've been talking about measurement all day. I've had a lot of tutoring that's been digging it. So when we're choosing a measurement procedure, you want to focus on two things. The first one is going to be measurement validity. Measurement validity is essentially like choosing a measurement procedure that captures the relevant dimension of the behavior we want to change. And not the relevant dimension, I'm going to change that to a relevant dimension, because there could be multiple relevant dimensions of the behavior that we want to change. And sometimes multiple measurement procedures are appropriate. And then the second thing is going to be like the ability of your data collector. So this is going to be like the physical ability of your data collector. And the question you want to ask is like, can they accurately take data while they're doing everything else they need to do? So if we have like a really busy individual, like a teacher or a parent, or even like an RBT who just has like crazy programs to run, then we're going to want to pick simpler data collection procedures, and those are usually going to be our discontinuous measurements or our time sampling procedures. Our continuous measurements are going to be more intensive in general. We like those data when we can get those data and the data collector can do it appropriately. But if it's not appropriate, then we're going to want to look to an easier measurement procedure to use. So whenever you're choosing a measurement procedure, you got to check both of these boxes here. It's like, is the measurement valid? Can the data collector actually do it? Diego, good to see you here. Welcome. So let's talk a little bit about rate. I'm going to separate these, rate and percentage of occurrence. So rate, this is the amount of times that behavior occurs over a single unit of time. So like single unit, what I mean by that is like per day, per hour, per year, etc. So we want to get that into a single unit rather than have like they hit 12 times in 3 hours. The reason for that is that if we have that and then we have like then they hit 15 times in 4 hours, well, our data aren't really comparable to each other in that form. But once we reduce them both down to a single unit, then the data are comparable in that form. So so we always need to get it down to that single unit here. And then as far as like the utility for rate, so we'll want to use for behaviors that are about the same duration across instances. So for example, if I look at like a punch is a very short behavior. Every punch is going to be like half a second or so. So rate or frequency is a pretty good option for that. This would be opposed to a behavior that varies in duration across our instances. So let's say that we have tantrums. Sometimes these tantrums last a minute. Sometimes these tantrums last an hour. And then let's say like I was using rate, my RBT reported, yeah, he had 4 tantrums per hour today. Okay, so those 4 tantrums, were those like 15 seconds each? So was it like a minute of tantruming, or like was he tantruming that whole time? And that data collection procedure doesn't tell us that. So it would be an invalid measurement, so we couldn't use it for that behavior. A little bit more on like the utility for rate. So we'll want to use rate over frequency when the observation periods vary in duration. So again, it can equalize that unit out. So let's say sometimes we have a 1 hour session, and sometimes we have like a 5 hour session. If we use rate, we're gonna get those down to a single unit, and it makes our data comparable to each other. And then also like we'll use rate over frequency when speed of the behavior is more relevant than the total number of behaviors. So, for example, if I was asked like how many roller coasters did you ride at the amusement park, I'm going to report that in frequency instead of rate. So I'm going to say I rode 10 roller coasters rather than I rode 2.5 roller coasters per hour. Like the total number was really what I was what the speaker was interested in. So I'm going to report that as a frequency instead of a rate. Let's check percentage of occurrence out. So percentage of occurrence, this is the number of times that the behavior occurs divided by the number of opportunities for that behavior. As far as our utility, we'll use this like when the opportunity is highly relevant to the behavior. Here's some examples of that. So if I just told you like, hey, I got 175 questions right on the BCBA exam, you might think like, oh, wow, that's pretty impressive. That's all the questions. So cool. And then I reveal the information. I took the test 5 times. So in that situation, the opportunity for the behavior was highly relevant for the behavior because it's way more impressive to say like 175 out of 175 questions versus 175 questions out of like 1,000 questions. So most often, whenever we have like an accuracy measurement, this is going to use percentage of occurrence. I'm going to finish this term here, percentage of occurrence. So essentially what this is that the like number of questions answered correctly divided by the total number of questions answered. So accuracy, we use percentage of occurrence all the time. But there are tons of other examples of this too. So this would be like percentage of weeks that Nick runs live streams. I'm shooting for the 100%, but we skipped last week. So like last month, I think there were 4 Thursdays. So I had 3 out of 4 weeks I ran the live stream. So this was number of weeks I ran the live stream divided by number of total weeks in the month. Cool. So that would just be normal percentage of occurrence. That wouldn't be accuracy there. So anytime where like that clear opportunity for the behavior occurs, we can use percentage of occurrence. All right, I'm noticing our numbers are actually really high tonight. I believe I have in the description here, if we get up to 35 concurrent viewers, that there's going to be a free tutoring session giveaway. When I was just started that, it was at 33, and now we're at 34. So we only need one person here to give away a free tutoring session. Tell your friends, get in here. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, we're at 34, so one more person, and we will give away a tutoring session right here, right now. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You guys are freaking awesome, and you got me amped about behavior analysis again. All right, let's move on to our time sampling procedures. So these are our discontinuous measurements. We've got 3 of them. So we have partial interval recording. We've got whole interval recording. And then we have momentary time sampling. Also, another thing you can do to help get that last viewer here, still at 34, smash that like button. I know I'm like the stereotypical YouTuber here. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, we're gonna do it. But, you know, it actually does help, so I really appreciate it if you do that. So when we talk about our time sampling procedures, we have some things that are relevant to all of our different time sampling procedures. So let's check it out. So things relevant to all discontinuous measurements. First of all is that we're going to break down the session into equal duration intervals. So if I have a 1 hour session, for example, I might split that into 5-minute intervals, maybe 2-minute intervals. Kind of depends on the behavior and how much we need the data. All right, I just watched the counter. It went up to 35. Let's go do it. We're gonna give away that session right now. Let's do it. So I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 300. Let me think of it. Don't put it in yet. All right, I've got my number now. So everybody, you can throw one number into chat. Whoever is closest to my number is going to win the session. 1 response each. Do not put in multiple, or else you will be disqualified. Ooh, somebody's like really close. I'm going to keep this open for like 20 more seconds. Somebody was like really close though. All right, I'm going to keep it open 10 more seconds. Final call. I love giving away stuff. It makes me so happy. All right. Congratulations to Lindsay Powell. So my number was 267. She chose 266. So congratulations, Lindsay, for the free tutoring session. I love to see that too. She is already signed up for the course tomorrow, which you should do too. Again, if we get up to 15 people, or sorry, the course is on Saturday, not tomorrow. But if we get up to 15 people on that, I'll also be giving away a free tutoring session at the course. Even better odds, I 1 out of 15 for a free tutoring session. Yes, congratulations, Lindsay. Awesome. I already have your email, so we'll get scheduled for sometime next week. Awesome. Sweet. Kelly just signed up for the course. Thank you so much, Kelly. You rule. All right. Let's get into the rest of our discontinuous measurements. I know that all the excitement it's got me hyped too. Love to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here again. And we'll probably do a similar thing next week. So keep coming to these, and there'll be more opportunities to win. We're at 38 people now. I think this is one of our biggest streams ever. So thank you again so much for being here. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to break this session down into equal duration intervals, and then our data are reported in percentage of intervals that the behavior occurred. So to get that percentage, we're going to take a number of intervals the behavior occurred divided by total number of intervals observed. So if we observe 20 intervals and then it occurred in 12 of them, we'll take 12 divided by 20 and we'll get our 60% for that. So your data might be reported that like Aggression, for example, occurred during 60% of intervals. That's how it would be reported. All right. Let's look at partial interval recording first. Oh, sorry. One more thing that I wanted to note for these is that we are going to mark an occurrence or non-occurrence for each interval. So we're not concerned with how much behavior occurs in each interval. Like, we're not like writing a number here. It's usually just like a plus or a minus. We're just concerned, like, did it meet the occurrence criteria or not? Cool. So partial interval recording, we mark an occurrence if the behavior occurs at any point of the interval. So partial interval recording, it's going to do one thing. It's either going to over or underestimate our behavior. Let's see in chat, does partial interval tend to over or underestimate behavior? If you can provide a brief rationale, that'll make your answer really stick out and be cool too. Sweet. Yeah, Alyssa, I hope you can make it on Saturday. It's going to be awesome. Ooh, a little mixed crowd here. Lots of people saying over, lots of people saying under. Can anybody provide a rationale for their answer? All right, Yesenia's got a nice stab at a rationale there. Ooh, Fainza, I like where you're going there. Okay. Yeah, Danielle, also some pretty good support there. I like it. So let's review. This tends to overestimate behavior. And this is because behavior can occur for only a short time during the interval, but the entire interval is marked as an occurrence. So for example, if I had like one interval here, and behavior just occurred for like one little blip, then I'm marking this whole thing as a plus, as if it did occur the whole time there. Yeah, good rationales. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, okay, Diego, I like where you're going. Oh, good, Yesenia. It happens. That's what we're here for, here to learn. So this tends to underestimate our behavior. Let's scooch this down a little bit so we can get here. As far as like utility for our partial interval, so we'll use it does still require constant observation. So think about it, like it requires constant observation because if they haven't engaged in the behavior at all towards the end of the interval, then I still need to watch at the end of the interval and see if they still do it. What is kind of nice about it is that if they engage in the behavior early in the interval, we can just mark it and forget about it until the next interval comes. So it does still require that constant observation though. We can use for any problem behavior. So really good for that. The overestimation is totally fine. It can show a worse picture than what's actually happening. And that means like if our intervention is effective, it's going to show the actual decreases in a pretty large way, which is cool. You can also use for low frequency skill acquisition behavior. Some examples of this might be like hand raising or like social interactions. If these behaviors don't occur very often, then partial interval can still track those and see the differences. So again, this all relates back to this, our measurement validity. Does it capture a relevant dimension of the behavior that we want to change? And partial interval would totally capture this for low frequency skill acquisition behavior, because if the behavior occurs and it wasn't occurring much before, it's going to show up in our data. Yeah, Yesenia is asking a good question. I'm glad this was brought up here. She's asking, like, does it underestimate frequency and overestimate duration? So I hate this rule, and then, if you do follow this rule, get it out of your head. So we'll call this bad rule here, like overestimates duration but underestimates frequency. Yeah, so this is a bad rule. So essentially, it overestimates duration for the reasons that we just talked about, and it's not comparable to frequency. The reason why is that this is interval recording. An interval is a period of time. So we can't compare time to amount. Those things are incomparable to each other. If you do follow this rule, just forget it. It's a completely useless rule, and it's going to hurt you more than help you. Cool. I'm glad that was brought up, though, because I know a lot of students follow that rule, and it's just really not useful at all. Yeah, of course. I'm glad we can clarify that. Let's talk about whole interval recording. So in this one, we mark an occurrence for an interval if the behavior occurs for the entire time. So given this now, do you think whole interval recording over or underestimates behavior? We talked a little bit about partial interval already. Can you provide a rationale for this answer as well? Cool, a lot of people are getting it, so it does tend to underestimate behavior. Who remembers why? Cool, yeah, Lindsay, I like where you're going there. Fran, good to see you here. Cool, yeah, Danielle, you're on the right track. Good. Yeah, Diego, I really like how you explained that. Very nice. Amanda on the right track. Faiza on the right track. That looks pretty good. Ooh, Terry. Wow, that is a perfect rationale. I really like Terry's rationale. So yeah, let's check it out here. So it tends to underestimate behavior, and this is because behavior could occur for a significant chunk of the interval, but still be marked as a non-occurrence. So yeah, let's draw this out here. So for if we have an interval here, and behavior occurred for like most of this, but like stopped at the end, this is still marked as a minus or a non-occurrence. And then this one to be occurrence up here. So non-occurrence. And look, so like behavior occurred for like 95% of this interval, and our data are going to say, yep, no behavior happened. So that's going to be a big underestimation of that. Let me find my cursor again. And then as far as utility, honestly, like the uses for whole interval are pretty narrow. And really, like, we use for skill acquisition behavior. I can't type today. That we want to occur continuously. So for example, we would use this for like on-task behavior. We could do it for silent reading. We could do it for like activity participation. Because all of those are behaviors that we want to see occur continuously. And that's really what we're measuring, is like, is this behavior occurring continuously for longer stretches of time? Non-examples here would be like hand raising. Like, I don't want to see my kid like raise his hand for like minutes or hours at a time. It's just not going to be helpful or functional. So so like those behaviors that we don't want to occur continuously, we're not going to use whole interval recording for. Alrighty, let's check our momentary time sampling now. So this one, we mark an occurrence if the behavior is occurring at the end of the interval. This one does not tend to either over or underestimate behavior. It can do both. Can and frequently or randomly does both. Or either. So, so yeah, don't really think about like the over or underestimation too much with momentary time sampling. It's not as relevant. And then let's talk about the utility for this. So again, our whole interval recording, this is another one that requires constant observation. What's kind of nice is like if they fib the start of the interval, you don't have to really pay that much attention after it. So it does still ease up data collection as opposed to continuous measurements. But momentary time sampling is the one that like really frees up time for your data collector. It doesn't require that constant observation. So this is great for data collectors that have lots of other tasks to do and cannot constantly observe. This so yeah, if they're not able to constantly observe, that's a good point to figure out too. So like I've used this in my when I like worked at centers before, like doing like RBT checks, and like some like the center had many different rooms in it, and obviously I can't be in every room at the same time. So the checks would be like I would go like room to room and be like, okay, are my RBTs on task or not? So that was a really great data collection procedure, and it gave the data that I needed to see. The only limitation for momentary time sampling is that we cannot use for short duration behaviors. The reason why is that these are unlikely to get captured by the measurement procedure. Let's draw an example of that. So I'll give us some space here. So we've got a couple, we'll do a couple intervals for this one. So our first one, let's say we have a short duration behavior, it just occurs at like little blips of here. So look at this, like it's not that likely that one of these blips is gonna land exactly on there. And if it does, there's probably lots of this behavior occurring. And then it's definitely gonna underestimate this behavior hardcore. So we're not going to use it for this. Let's say this is like a hitting behavior or a punching. It's a short duration behavior. Look, and then like this short interval, my student just punched somebody 7 times. Let's say this was a 1-minute interval. And this my data collection procedure is going to show a minus for this because behavior is not occurring at this end point of the interval. So we wouldn't want to use it for this behavior because it's just unlikely to be captured, and it's not going to be a good representation of what happens. And if like my student punches somebody 7 times in a minute, like my data collection procedure better tell me about it. So in comparison, when we look at like our longer duration behaviors, these are more likely to occur at these end points of the interval and more likely to be captured by this procedure. It doesn't mean it's going to be captured every single time, but that's okay. If the behavior is not occurring all the time, then maybe it shouldn't be captured all the time. All right. Okay. Yeah, Diego's saying like if they learn like the schedule, they earn reinforcement. So yeah, I think referring to like the RBT monitoring. Yeah. So yeah, what you want to do is you want to try to make that more unpredictable for them. That is one thing I will note for momentary time sampling is a little bit different than the other procedures. So you don't always have to have equally spaced intervals for momentary time sampling, or like equal duration intervals rather. And then if they learn the schedule, if like they learn the schedule for data collection, you can start varying up the interval lengths. But it would be the same thing. We're still looking at that end moment of the interval. Are they engaged in the behavior or not? So yeah, if your RBTs get sneaky, they're like, yeah, Nick comes exactly on like the 15-minute mark. So I'm just always gonna be super on task, and then once he checks in, then I'm gonna go screw off on my phone or whatever. In that case, like I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna check, and then like 5 minutes later, I'm gonna check again and try to catch them off guard. All right, well, that was a lot of measurement procedures. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Kind of cool stuff. I love measurement. Definitely tends to be one of those more abstract topics, so hopefully this helps to bring some more clarity and objectivity to that. All right, next up, somebody wanted to talk about the door question. The door question everybody hates, and probably for a good reason, but I'm going to bring this up here. So here was the door question. Benny's house is filled with doors. Whenever he approaches a closed door, he opens it and he sees the things that are behind that door. What kind of stimulus is the closed door? So this one got a lot of people. The best answer here was actually B, a punisher. A more accurate answer, and I kind of regret posting it like this, a more accurate answer for this would be aversive stimulus. My opinion, and the textbook that I learned from, Principles of Behavior, treats the two terms as the same thing. The only difference is like where they occur in the contingencies. Often, according to Cooper definitions, punishers are put as consequent stimuli. Aversive stimuli are basically the same thing, but serving as antecedents for negative reinforcement. The problem with, the reason why I put punisher here instead of aversive stimulus is because I think they are exactly the same. Everything that has punishing properties is also going to have aversive stimulus properties. And the reason, let's go over why this is the answer, and we have to look at the negative reinforcement contingency to really get our answer here. So the negative reinforcement contingency that occurs is that we have a closed door, we open the door, and now we have a removal of the closed door. So that's negative reinforcement. We have a removal of the aversive stimulus, causing maintenance of that behavior. So it says whenever he approaches a closed door, signaling maintenance or reinforcement of that behavior. So one good rule, and this is something we're going to talk about in the course on Saturday too, this can help you quite a bit, but whenever there is something aversive in the antecedent, it's always going to be an MO. So it's going to be an MO to remove that thing. But really, you had to diagram this down to the basic contingency to get the answer. So we have closed door, open door, removal of the closed door, and that reinforces the behavior by removal of that aversive stimulus. Let me take some quick notes on that question here. So the door question, we have our contingency is a negative reinforcement. So we have closed door, behavior, open the door, and then we have our consequence is no closed door. And then this was removal of an aversive stimulus that resulted in maintenance of the behavior. Whenever we have an aversive stimulus too, aversive stimulus in the antecedent will always be an MO. And then to highlight that difference, like aversive stimulus, this is an antecedent stimulus that evokes a negative reinforcement response. And then by Cooper's definition, a punisher as a consequence stimulus that decreases the future frequency of the behavior it follows. So I expanded on this a little bit. I posted this on the ABA study group too. But this closed door would also serve as a punisher in the right contingency. So let's say we have like hypothetical contingency is that looking through the door closes it immediately. So here's our contingency. We have no closed door. We look through the door, behavior, and then we have closed door. So what this would do is this would be positive punishment. It would absolutely punish this behavior of looking through the door. So it decreases looking through the door. And if you needed to get through that door, it might evoke going through the door without looking through it. So again, I think all punishers and aversive stimuli are like all aversive stimuli are punishers. All punishers are aversive stimuli if thrown in the right contingencies. But if you want to learn Cooper's definitions, here's how you make that distinction. Punisher is going to be the consequent stimulus. Aversive stimulus is going to be the antecedent stimulus. This one, Vanita's asking, how is this a positive punishment? So this results in the presentation of the closed door. So because stimulus was added in the consequence, that's what makes it positive. Again, if you struggle with these basic contingencies, I'm probably like beating a dead horse at this point, but sign up for the course on Saturday. It's gonna be really cool. All right, we've got a few minutes left here. Let's talk a little bit. Well, let's actually take a vote here. So we've got G9 generalization techniques, descriptive assessments, or MOs. So I'm having you guys vote 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we probably only have time to get into one of these. So cast your votes or forever hold your peace. Looks like 3 is pretty popular right now. Ooh, a little mixed bag. We've got all right. It looks like number 3 here. Descriptive assessment of problem behavior. So let's go ahead and do that. Descriptive assessment. This is an AKA for like direct assessment in the FBA. So FBA, this stands for our functional behavior assessment. And what this does is it's an assessment to discover the function of a particular behavior. Usually a problematic behavior or a behavior that we're trying to decrease. So the process of that, so we have indirect assessment, we have direct assessment, and then we have an experimental manipulation. So what this item is looking at is the direct assessment part. If you do want some more help with FBAs overall, we did a couple weeks ago, Brian Iwata passed away, who was the original researcher for the functional analysis. So we did a little tribute stream to him, and we went all over FBAs and FAs pretty thoroughly. So definitely check that stream out if you're like feeling weak on FBAs. We go over all 3 of these components pretty thoroughly. So yeah, right now we're just going to focus on that direct assessment part. So the direct assessment, again, this is an assessment of problem behavior, of a behavior that involves direct observation of the behavior, and then without manipulation. So if we are manipulating something, then it's going to be some kind of experimental manipulation. Who knows, like, what are some forms of direct assessments that we can use? Let's see those in chat. Yeah, Bellen's asking if the course is this Saturday. It is this Saturday, 10 a.m. EST. Cool. Yeah, AJ and Vanita both got like ABC recording. Very cool. Yeah, and then Lindsay's also got, we have ABC narrative recording versus our ABC continuous recording. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, Vanita's got a good one. Scatter plot. Yeah, direct observation. Cool, cool. We're missing like a big category here. Anybody like we talked a lot about it earlier. We're missing like a big category of direct assessment. Anybody want to try that? No? That's okay. So this is basically going to be any measurement procedure. So this can be a continuous or discontinuous measurement. So whenever we're measuring behavior, we're doing some kind of direct assessment too. So these are, yeah, pretty straightforward. When we do a direct assessment, the direct assessment gives us enough information to make a hypothesis of the function. And with this data, you can do like a little experimental manipulation from there. One common one, so you can do an experimental, can do a quick experimental manipulation. One common one is put the behavior on extinction. So if we expect that it's attention maintained, let's put it on attention extinction and see what happens. If the behavior has extinction effects, so we see like burst followed by a dramatic drop off, then we've confirmed the function. So that's one really like easy strategy that you can use to avoid doing an FA and a really intense experimental manipulation. It's just do this quick experimental manipulation, throw it on extinction. Does it have the effects that we expect to occur? And if it does, then we've confirmed the function. If it doesn't, let's keep assessing and see if we can figure it out. It's a really cool trick you can use. Yay, Terry, thank you so much. I really appreciate that feedback. All right, well, we've gone for an hour now. My voice is getting exhausted. I've been teaching all day, but it's been a fun day. I ain't complaining. Couple things to wrap up. If you would like to receive the notes from this session, I'm going to drop the link to the form in chat right now. Fill that out, and I will send out the notes by tomorrow morning. I know I've been a little slow on those recently, but I'm going to get them out faster this time. And thank you guys so much for being here. Congratulations to Lindsay, who won our free tutoring session. I think we'll do the same thing next week. We got up to, I believe we did break 40 concurrent. Yeah, we got to 40 concurrent viewers today. So, I might do some kind of changing criteria on design manipulation. Maybe we'll set the bar to 40 next week, but I think we can do it. Yeah, right now, Vanita's asking if the course will be available on any other days. Right now, it's just a Saturday. I appreciate that feedback, though. It's still a new thing that I'm figuring out. So maybe our next one we will do on a Sunday, and maybe that'll even be sooner rather than later if there's a lot of demand for a Sunday session. So let me know what you think about that. If you are would rather do a Sunday session, fill out in the form. There's a little slot to put feedback on there and be like, yo, Nick, I'd rather have this on Sunday. If there's a lot of those, then I will make it happen for you guys. Again, I'm just gonna plug one more time because I'm totally that guy. The course is this Saturday. It's Fundamentals of Behavior mini course. We're going to go over basic contingencies, MO, stimulus discrimination, schedules of reinforcement. It's only $50 for a seat. It's cheaper than a tutoring session. It's going to be a 3-hour course, and you're going to leave with a fill in the blank exercise to go home with for definitions and stuff. Yeah, as far as like recording this course, I'm probably not gonna record Saturday's course. It does seem like there's some demand for it, so maybe I'll change my mind. But like since I didn't let people know when they were signing up that they could potentially be recorded, I probably won't record it. And but I will run this course again soon. So if you have input on like what days you or times that you would like to see that, please put that into the feedback form that I sent out for the notes. Yeah, Dodo's asking, can we do condition motivating operations sometime? So yeah, if you bring it into a study hall, we can do it. And I think, like I mentioned, we're gonna do another course, which is like this tough stuff, eventually later on. So I think we'll include CMOs in there too, because people hate those. Let me catch up on chat. Yeah, thank you guys so much for all your feedback. I really appreciate all the love I'm getting. It helps keep me going. So really, like, you guys are the rock. You guys rock so much. I wouldn't be doing this here without you. So thank you so much for your support. It really means the world to me. All right, let me catch up on the rest of chat. All right. I think that's it. Well, again, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate every single one of you that is here. Hopefully I will see you around in either like next week in study hall or in the course on Saturday, or just kind of like around on Facebook or Instagram too. Again, really appreciate you all. You guys rock. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and weekend, and hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.